On October 20th in Arlington, Texas, Donnie the Bomber Bell takes on a much experienced, undefeated Brad Bone Crusher Mitchell for the 155 XKO championship belt. Wrestler versus striker. Who will oppose their will? Who will walk away with the belt? Before they face off in the cage, they will face off tonight, right here, right now. Phyllis?
How you doing, man?
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this face-off. You know, you want to let the fans know what they're going to witness next week. I mean, I know you guys are in the middle of training, trying to lose weight, and I don't know how close you guys are there, but again, you know, it's Saturday. Thank you so much. You know, this is a 155 title belt. This is your first time ever fighting for the title?
Yep, the first time. I had two lined up, but injuries kind of took me away from it, so this is the first one.
How exciting is that?
It feels great to get the opportunity to be a champion. So.
Right. And Brad, this is your first time fighting for a championship belt in the pros, correct?
Correct.
For those who don't know, when I say much experience, what people see is only 2-0 when I say undefeated. But Brad, you had a very long amateur background, 16 wins, 4 losses with 4 titles.
Yes,
that's a lot of fights for an amateur. Why so long to take to go into the pros? Because there's a lot of people with an amateur background who doesn't have that much experience. You know, after a few fights, they go pro.
Right, and that's the key, experience. I wanted to make sure that I was ready to make that step to the pros. Got my weight cutting down right. My preparation for my opponents, studying them. Also, as I said, the weight cutting and just getting that experience down to as far as fighting for a title. If that comes, you have that experience, and the pressure's not really there anymore like it, if you're first time fighting for a title.
Right. You know, Donnie, you're 5-2. You have 7 fights. Brad has 2 fights. He already has a title fight. Do you think that he's deserving for a title fight only with 2 pro fights?
I'll say yes with the experience he got. He got 20 amateur fights, 2 pro fights, so he has more fights than I have. So I'll say yeah, he's definitely ready for it.
Donnie, you're a wrestler. Your background's a wrestler. Your background is striking. So this is your typical wrestler versus striker. Donnie, I know you've been, different gyms or whatnot, but I understand you finally found a home. You're training at, you go ahead, tell everybody where you're training at.
I train here at the gym in Arlington. I got a striking coach, Calvin Pitts, and also trainer Alan Mollers out in Coppell. So it's all going pretty great now.
I know that I saw your highlight video, and one of the things that you mentioned was, Brad likes to, take the fight in his own hands, and one of the things he said is, I want to put Brad on his back because he's never been there. So to my understanding, that's probably where you want to keep it because that's your strong point, right? You want to take it to the ground. Yeah,
I'm a wrestler, he's a striker. I'm always going to press the strike up against the cage and take him down. It's hard to strike from your back, I think.
So Brad, what do you say about that? What do you do when you have a wrestler who wants to take you down and and he said you haven't been on your back. I mean, what do you say? Have you prepared to go to the ground?
For sure. I've, you get in this sport, you gotta, you never know who your opponent's going to be or who they might match you up with. So you gotta train in all aspects of the game: back, ground, stand up, anything that it goes. Cage, outside the cage, whatever. But yeah, we've been preparing for Donnie. I got a teammate that fought Donnie, Clayton Sunshine. I'm a totally different fighter than Clayton. I think that I'm a better striker than Clayton. Clayton has good ground, but we're talking about Donnie. And yeah, Donnie wants to, that's what his game plan is, going to put me on the back. My game plan is going to want to strike and move and sprawl. And if he does get me on the back, get up and work my hands again. Go ahead.
Donnie, he's training with one of the guys that actually you lost to at the Legacy card. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's gonna help him? I mean, I'm sure every fighter's different. Like you said, he's a much better striker than your last opponent. Do you think that's a good thing for him?
I guess I don't really mind. I guess he can train whatever he wants to. I'm still gonna come in and do the same thing, do not fight my style, force my style onto him, and try to win the fight.
Well, Donnie, you know what people don't know about you is that you also would stand in the pocket and bang if it has to be. From what I heard from different people that has trained with you, that you have power not just in one hand, but in both hands. So if it keeps it standing, you know, one thing I've always said, not every wrestler can take you down. Not every striker can knock you out. So at a certain point, you're going to have to change your game up if that happens. So if you can't take him down, so he has great takedown defense. If you can't take, are you okay standing up?
Yeah, I feel very comfortable on my feet. I feel like I can control it there in the cage. Wherever the fight goes, I feel like I can do pretty good. Try to stay well-rounded in training camp.
What do you think about your opponent? What do you think his strong points and weaknesses?
I think his strong points are his wrestling.
Right.
That's what he did in college. That's his go-to deal. You know, he wants to pick you up and take you to flight school, like he said. I really haven't particularly noticed any weaknesses, but I think that his chin might be weak considering to my power.
You know, Brad, one thing that when I was doing research about you, you fought two credible guys. You fought Chris Pacero, which you got a TKO out of that fight, and actually he's fighting next week as well, taking on Douglas Frey for the title.
Another good title fight.
Yeah, another good title fight. And then you also beat the tough Stevenson Peterson. You won a unanimous decision. So those are pretty credible guys, and you know, being 2-0, and of course you want to walk away 3-0 with the title,
with the belt.
With the belt. How excited? No, I asked him how excited was that to fight for a title, and you being 2-0. How exciting is that just at the beginning of your career?
It's very exciting. You know, I did fight Steven Peterson. That was my last fight.
And not to mean to interrupt, but your last fight was in 2010. Correct.
And the reason why that being is because during Steven Peterson fight, I broke my hand in the first round and caught a Bennett fracture, and it shattered my thumb. And that's kept me out from, you know, I had to do surgery and then rehab and training. And so now I'm back in to fight. And I think that says a lot for Extreme XKO to give me a title shot. Just being 2-0 to come up and just say, hey, Brad, well deserving of a title shot. So that lets them know that they're confident in my skill set to go and put on a good show.
You know, Donnie, he hasn't fought since 2010. Do you think that him fighting that long is a good thing for you and a bad thing for him because he hasn't been in the cage? I'm sure he has been training. You know, like you said, I mean, who wouldn't take on a title fight if they're not training? But do you think, you know, actually in a fight game, because training and actually fighting is two different things.
Well, that goes back to saying the amateur experience.
Yeah.
If I wasn't confident enough in this and said, hey, I think, you know, I need to wait or do something else, then I wouldn't take this fight.
Right. Do you think that's going to play a factor coming next week?
I think it definitely will. When you're on the shelf, you build up dust, so I think he's going to have a little bit of ring rust coming in, which mess with his cardio, I think. So I'm definitely going to try to push the pace and test it.
And messing with his cardio, I mean, with the wrestler, that does messes with someone's cardio because you're pinning them down, you're pinning them against the cage, and that does get tiring. I mean, with that, I mean, I'm sure you're doing a lot of stuff for cardio.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of things for cardio. But also, people haven't seen me on my back and work my ground game. And so Donnie's going to want to put me on the ground, and if it goes there, then he'll get to taste my ground game too.
You know, my last face-off that I did was Nick versus Chaz Scully, and it was another typical grappler versus wrestler. One of the things that Chaz had mentioned, you know, during his face-off was, yeah, I'm a wrestler, but, you know, that's my strength, so that's where I'm going to take you. People haven't seen me stand because we're on the ground. Is that how you feel? Like if he does take you down, no one's really seen your ground game?
Right, because no one's been able to take me down, or I catch them coming in to take me down. But if it goes there, I'm very comfortable there.
Donnie, how do you feel about your striking, your boxing? Because you know, one thing that I was watching about Brad, he's a counter puncher. And I saw some of his videos, and me being a boxer, I could tell, you know, he's a counter puncher, and he'll attack when he feels like, oh, he got you, and that's when he will oppose as well. So how's that coming along? And let's talk about your boxing coach or your striking coach. How has he prepared you for someone who loves sit there and bang, you know, keep it standing?
Just stay in his face, stay on him, don't give him time to counter punch. If he does strike, counter him back. I like to counter too. I pay a lot of attention to my fights. You know, I do a little bit of countering myself with shots and also strikes. So if he did happen to stop my takedowns, I do feel like I can hold my own on the feet. So.
And you said you're training with Calvin Pitts?
Calvin Pitts, yes.
Now Calvin Pitts, he's a very, very experienced guy. I know who Calvin Pitts is. You know, he kickboxing background.
Black belt and taekwondo.
Yeah, he's very fast, and he does do a lot of countering. How's that coming along? I mean, do you think they have something like a similar style? Is that why you chose him, or why did you choose him?
He really helps me out, like on the boxing and everything. He breaks it down well for me and tells me why to throw stuff and when to throw it. So I've been working with him for that last fight. Which everybody told me I should have stood up a little more. So definitely working him a lot more this one.
You know, the crowd likes to see two people standing, you know, but, you know, the ground game I have to respect, because there's so much that you're doing on the ground that some fans who are not very educated you know, on the sport.
It's the way the name of the sport is, mixed martial arts.
Right.
It's an art, that mixed martial arts you're throwing in there, that you have to be, you know, anything that can damage your opponent, whether it be on the ground or pulling off submission or standing up striking, that's what you can use in the cage to win, and that's why it's called mixed martial arts. So if you don't like on the ground work and you boo that, go get educated, watch some YouTube videos, and then educate yourself, and I think you'll appreciate the sport much better.
Now, Octagon, is that your place?
That's my home. That's my home now. That's since I come back from my injury. We did start out with the Dallas Jawbreakers. We was a bunch of garage guys, just a bunch of tough guys. Now a couple of us has converted over to Octagon MMA, and I can't speak highly enough of Coach Safe over there with Octagon MMA, and just the training partners that I had to train with. It's took my cardio to different levels, took my striking and my wrestling to a different level.
Donnie, you know, he's a striker. You know, we all know this. Would you keep it standing? Would you want to keep it standing? You know?
If he earned it, I would definitely keep it standing. But I mean, like if he stopped my takedowns, I feel like he earned it, so I will strike with him a little bit before I try to get him. I think I'll be ready for it.
So how long has your training camp been to prepare for him? You know, because he does have over 20 fights, and I was very surprised with that one.
That's amateur though. That's amateur.
Exactly, but sometimes we got to talk about that, because what the fans don't realize, that it does work for some people, you know, to go straight to the pros, and sometimes you do need some amateur experience before you go straight to the pros. It could, you know, it could mentally, you know, change somebody's mind because you've been there 20 times. So it works, you know, either way. Some it doesn't, some it doesn't, some it does. So him being that experience, you know, how long was your training camp when you got that phone call?
Well, I continued right after the camp with Clayton Robinson. I really hate losing, so I was right in the gym the day after, so I don't really take time off.
And you, how long? I mean,
about a 3-month training camp, but that's not, I wasn't really going in there banging hard until the last, you know, 2 months of it. I was just getting in shape, getting back into things, and then about 2 months of really training and getting ready for this guy.
So you've been training. You got that call 3 months. You got a 3-month advance to start.
Maybe about 2 months really is when I got the call. But I was in there training and saying, hey, you know, we're gonna do this and do that, and looking for a fight, because I was supposed to fight on the same card he did with Legacy, but my opponent backed out, and you know, things happened, so I didn't get the fight on that card. But I was still in training mode.
When you got that call from the bussies, and said, hey, Brad, you know, I think you're deserving of a title fight, and I want you to fight Donnie Bell? What was going through your mind?
Well, the first thing they called and said, we got this guy that we want you to fight. I knew they had a show coming up, and I was like, hey, I want to be on the card. And he was like, okay, well, we got this guy that we want you to fight. And I was like, all right, let's do the fight. Sounds good. And I'm sitting there, we hang up, and I'm playing washers with my son, and I get the call back, and he goes, hey, Brad, I got something better for you. And I was like, okay, what is this? And then he was like, we want you to fight for a title, and we want you to fight Donnie Bell. And I was like, let me call you back. And then I called a couple of people and talked to them, and then I called him back and said, yeah, that'll be a good fight, good test for me and a good test for Donnie, and I'll take the fight.
Same question with you. When they called you and said, I want you to fight Brad Mitchell, what was going through your mind?
I was ecstatic. I really liked the chance to get a title shot, so I definitely started training a lot harder. Got ready for the five-minute rounds.
Donnie, been fighting for a long time now. You have 7 pro fights, and one thing we always like to ask our fighters is, what do you want to be remembered in the sport, or even what do you want the fans to remember you next week?
I want to be remembered as the best, so I try to train to do the best I can every time I go out there and perform for the fans.
Now you're fighting for a title, and obviously you feel like you deserve it over Brad. I mean, is that what you think? You think, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to do whatever it takes to walk away with this belt?
Yeah, I definitely feel I deserve a chance at a title because the way I train, I've been training hard as I can every day. And
Brad, you've been fighting for a very long time, and I keep bringing this up because you do have experience. Same thing, same question for you. What do you want the fans to remember you by, or at least, your championship fight next week?
That I want the fans to remember me by that every time I come and I step in that cage, that he's here to fight and that he always put on a good show.
And you want other fighters to second guess before they get in there.
Well, yeah, and also I want other fighters that might be watching my videos or the fight to be like, if you're in the 155 class, to be thinking that, hey, he pulled off that submission, or hey, he pulled off that punch and knocked that guy out.
So what do you guys right now? How much more weight do you guys have to lose?
Go ahead.
I got 10 pounds left, so
I got about 7.
About 7. So you guys are about the same.
Yeah, we're in the same. He knows what he's doing. I mean, I'm not downplaying him or taking him lightly. Like I said on my interview with Rafi, or what's his name from UFFL, Roland. Mm-hmm. I don't care if Donnie was 0-10 or 10-0. I'm gonna train the same that I would be every time I'm gonna train, and that's what I've learned through my amateur experience, because I've had some that I took my opponent lightly, and I went in there and I was like, oh my God, why did I do this? Because I underestimated him.
Right.
So that's where that experience comes in, but I don't underestimate any opponent anymore.
Donnie, any last words you got to give to Brad? Let him know what he's expecting from you next week.
I'm going to control the pace. I'm going to be all over you until you quit or your body quits. So.
Same thing for you. Any last words for him?
Those are big words from him, and just expect the unexpected. Don't be shocked if I take you down.
That would be exciting. Sometimes you got to do the unexpected. Any last minute shout outs, sponsors, gyms, family, friends that you want to give out? Look to the camera.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the woman, my wife, that's behind the scenes that nobody gets to see. I want to give a shout out to Octagon MMA, all my training partners and my family over there, my fight family. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Windsor, my sports and weight management nutrition doctor, Dr. Snyder, my vision eye doctor, and to Blue Energy Drink with Jamie DeVilla.
Donnie, same for you.
I want to thank my sponsors, Born to Bang, Robust Energy Drink, VIP mouth guards. I'm probably forgetting some guys I'm cutting weight right now. I'm sorry about that. I want to thank my teammates, Alex Russ, who's also on the card, and everybody else that I train with out here at the gym, also at Muller's, and most of all, I got to thank God.
And last but not least, you got to thank XKO for giving you the opportunity for this beautiful 155 title championship belts. You guys, you do not want to miss this. There's 2 championship belts fights next week. You have Donnie Bell, the Bomber, versus Bone Crusher Mitchell. You also have Chris Pissarro taking on Douglas Frey. Next week, you've got to be here to get your tickets. You guys are still selling tickets?
Yes.
You can still get them on cagetix.com.
Or extremeknockout.com if you're going to buy VIP tickets, or if that's how it goes, like you said, cagetickets.com.
And make sure you choose their name when you're on there getting your tickets, so they can get credit and they can keep coming back and fighting for XKO.
Sure.
Guys, good luck next week. Thank you for taking the time out. Can we face off before we face each other? Thank you.